another in the series of Women of Power and Women of Grace. Today I'm really pleased to introduce you to my new friend and a woman I greatly admire, Irene Hickey. Irene, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here.
So the thing that interested me was you've been a career woman, and you spent 20 years at Xerox.
Yes.
And that's a good lesson for people. So how did you first get in the door there when you got your first job?
I'm a widow. My husband died in 2001. But later, before he died, he was transferred to Rochester, New York. Mm-hmm. And that meant that I left my job in Houston and went with him to Rochester, New York. That meant I had to start over, and I was in my late 40s. It's hard to start over in your late 40s, and Xerox had an opening as a temp for an admin aide, and I said, it's a job, it's Xerox. I thought a lot of the corporation, and so I accepted the job. And quickly over time, they realized that I could do a lot more than just be an admin aide, and I worked my way up. And then my husband was laid off, and I chose to travel with him. That's what you do. That's my generation. You were always there supporting your husband. So when he got laid off and he didn't know what to do for work, I said, well, why don't we go back to Texas?
Let's go home.
I'm a Texas girl. My roots are in Texas. So I said, okay. And I went to my boss at Xerox and said, any chance I can transfer to Texas? And he said, sure, you can apply. They had openings. So we transferred back. And this is how God works in mysterious ways. Neither my late husband nor I expected to be back in Texas then. We came back at the end of 2000. 2001, he got very ill all of a sudden, and I had accepted this job at Xerox, so I was starting out again, ground level there with them in Houston, and then my husband died unexpectedly. Oh, really? He died August 17th. I always say, why God, that was 2 days before my birthday. How do you deal with that? And then September 11th happened. Xerox gave me a grief leave. I came back to work, and the corporation was struggling. What do we do? We need plans in place to deal with something like this. They had some plans. I mean, they're a huge corporation. They had some plans.
Nobody anticipated something like that at that time.
No. And I said, well, let me help write these plans. They invited me to be on a team. I'm a writer. God gave me the talent to write. So I started looking at them, and God also gave me the talent that annoys a lot of people to ask the who, what, when, where, and why.
Well, that's a writer talent.
It's a writer talent. It's a woman talent. It's an annoying talent, but it's what I do. So I would look at what we had and ask the who, what, when, where, and why, and then we said, okay, we have an emergency plan. That's how you deal with the fire in the building. We have a business resumption plan. The fire's happened. How do you resume business? And so I became Xerox's contingency planner. They actually created that job for me. I'm also the kind of person that believes in asking forgiveness, not permission. I was like, okay, cool. They created this job. Let's see what I can do. And I learned how to be a contingency planner, and we put together plans, and I became the person responsible for all of the plans for all of Xerox in the United States, and including Puerto Rico and Guam.
Wow.
So what's that mean? You have an emergency plan. Okay, do they know how to get out of the building? But then emergencies evolved. What do you do with shooters in the building? What do you do with a terrorist attack? What do you do with an ammonia truck exploding on a freeway and people are dropping dead right outside your office? That all led into contingency planning.
People's sense of of life has changed. I
Yes.
mean, school shootings, people experiencing 9/11. It's just dramatically changed what people feel safe, how people feel safe.
Yeah. What the job ultimately evolved into was not only creating the plans, but then I had to create tests. Mm-hmm. So I would line up the management. I did a lot of my job by phone and online, but I'd line up the management and they would gather around a table and I'd say, okay, this emergency happened. This disaster happened. Now what are you going to do about it? And that included reacting to the disaster. It included what do you say to the press? What do you do? What do you do with the people who've been involved? If there's been a mass shooting and people around you have died and then you're ushered out of the building, what do you say to the press? Well, you don't say, oh, I know so-and-so died, because you're not a doctor.
Right.
You may see them laying there, but you're not a doctor. So that was what that job evolved into. I became a bit of a teacher, not in any way claiming to be a subject matter expert on everything. You know, nowadays they track a lot of the internet searches and that. I was thinking to myself a while back, I wonder what they would have thought when I was researching shooter in building, ammonia truck exploding, how to make a bomb. I was doing all that for my job.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but
so you'd
nowadays,
be on the watch list.
I would have been on the watch list about, oh, well, you know, but that was, so that who, what, when, and where, and why always came in handy, and I felt like I was, I enjoyed the job, even though I was dealing with disasters 24/7, because it was helping people understand what to do.
But helping people is one of your core values of your life. I mean, that's something really central to who you are.
It is. I started out as a little girl at age 6. My grandfather was visiting us from California, and we lived in the country, and he was walking down the street with me. I'll never forget this. And I said something. I was discussing some problem of the world that a 6-year-old can discuss, and he told me to do something about it. And I said, I can't, because that's how you say can't in Texas. You say, I can't, Grandpa. And he said, you can, and you will. And I want you to memorize this poem. And the poem was, I think he wrote it, but I'm not sure. They said it couldn't be done, but she with a smile replied that maybe it couldn't, but she wouldn't be one to say so until she had tried. At 6 years old, he taught me that, and I never forgot it. So give me a problem. Let me see someone struggling with a problem, and I'm going to go in and ask the who, what, when, where, and why, and I'm going to try to help them solve it. I'm not pretending to know everything, but saying maybe they need a little bit of help. And you know what? Yes, you can. You may not be solving that problem like you think it ought to be solved, but yes, you can do something about it. I've never forgotten that lesson.
Was it your disaster planning that led you to get involved with the firefighters in Texas? No,
I actually have to say it was my husband dying. One minute you're married, the next minute he's in the hospital, then they came up to me. It turns out he had polycystic kidneys, and we didn't know he had that. And it can kill you because you find out about it when you're going into coma and all that. His family flew in, everyone gathered around, and so one minute I was a wife, and the next minute he was dead. I had to make the decision to pull the plug. Turns out they will pull the plug if they're brain dead on their own. They don't have to ask you. If they're mostly brain dead, you have to decide to pull the plug. So I said, okay, great, my birthday, and now you're only mostly brain dead. I laugh about it because it's what you have to do.
Of course.
But I had to pull that plug. And then I had to deal with being alone for a while, which I did. And then I met this, several years later, I met this wonderful man who is now my life partner, and he was involved in Rotary. And I'd always seen the Rotary wheel outside places, and I thought, I want to belong to that. But it was an all-male organization at the time. Well, I wanted to know about it.
Another challenge for the career woman.
Since then, they've long, Rotary embraces women, but he got me involved in it. I joined a Rotary club. I was accepted into this. You have to be invited to join Rotary, and I was invited to join it. And in this club was a firefighter, a retired firefighter. And he came to the club and said, you know, people don't realize the most common work-related injury a firefighter gets is cancer.
Really?
Everyone thinks strains or burns or something like that, but it's actually cancer.
Wow.
Now, can you prove it? Okay, well, how do you prove that you got cancer from this or that? Well, there's a big correlation with smoking and cancer. That's a pretty easy thing with lung cancer, but just different kinds of cancers. So people don't realize that. And his idea was that our little bitty Rotary Club could build a 40-unit apartment complex where firefighters could stay, or firefighters and their caregiver could stay while they're being treated at the Texas Medical Center.
Oh.
MD Anderson is at the Texas Medical Center. Texas Medical Center's, of course I'm from Texas, so I'm going to tell you it's the best in the world. It's large, one of the largest centers in the world.
With an excellent reputation for treating cancer patients.
Excellent. And so, but when you come to town, if let's say you're a firefighter in California and you've got this cancer, and the doctors in California have said, sorry, then you know about the medical center, you want to go there. If you're a firefighter, you're not making very much money.
Right.
That's, public servants don't get paid that much, or you're a volunteer firefighter where you're just volunteer.
Right.
So you come there, you've probably spent or maxed out your credit cards just trying to get there, and then they accept you, they're going to give you treatment, there is hope. Where do you stay? It's outpatient. That's another thing most people don't realize is cancer. A lot of cancer treatment is chemo and radiology is outpatient.
Right. You're not in the hospital while you're receiving the treatment.
Right. So you got to stay somewhere.
Right.
The question is, where do you stay?
And how do you afford to pay for that?
And how do you pay for it? Hospitals...
Insurance doesn't pay for housing.
They don't pay for housing at all. Hotel rooms are around the medical center, or if you're lucky, you can get one for $150 a night.
Oh my God.
If you're lucky.
And you're talking weeks, months, if you're having cancer treatment.
You are. So his idea... His name is Homero Ponce Lopez, and his idea was that we build this apartment complex.
I see.
So we're the little club that,
built the apartment
like the
complex.
train that says, I think I can, and the word I can't be part of that. So we haven't built it yet. We're working with getting the land donated, but what we are doing, we are renting apartments. Right now we have one, and we're negotiating the second one. So right now we're helping one firefighter at a time, and we have a waiting list. So one might be there a week and one might be there 3 months. 90 days is our maximum. And so we're helping them, and they have to have a caregiver. They come in, we assign what we call an ambassador to them, and that's someone who says, hey, I'm a warm body, I'm a smiling face, I'm here.
Welcome to Texas.
Houston's huge.
Right.
It's scary. The freeways are scary to be on. Medical center itself is extremely large, and people are afraid. They're broke, they're facing an illness, they're in a strange environment, and they need help. So that's what we're trying to do.
So I understand that the firefighters invited you to see what it was like to be a firefighter for a day.
They did, and it was quite the experience. I'm only 5 foot tall. There are short firefighters, but they're muscular, and I'm not. And so they geared me at full gear, mask, oxygen mask, everything.
Tanks?
The tanks weigh 70 pounds, or the
Oh,
gear.
my
When you're
goodness.
fully in gear, it weighs 70 pounds.
Oh my God,
So-
that's more than you.
I wish. I look like the Pillsbury Dough woman walking around like this because I couldn't manage all of it properly. And the tanks are such that they have alarms on them. If you don't move like every 15 or 20 seconds, an alarm starts going off. That's because if you're in a burning building and you're down, your firefighters need to know where you are so they can find you. So they kept telling you to jiggle. So I just looked like this pathetic person in it, but it was quite the experience and gave me a whole new respect for what they go through.
Right, but also, you think about it, when they're in the fire, they're surrounded by smoke, they're inhaling probably air that's not so
Yes.
fabulous.
Right.
They're exposed to burning asbestos, carcinogens. I mean, that probably might be one of the reasons why you were told that it leads to cancer in firefighters.
Yes, but what you see is the firefighters in their gear. You see them go into the burning building. You see all of that and you think, well, they're protected. But then if you cut away to the next scene where they're coming out of the building and they're burning up inside, sweating and everything because of the heat. I mean, they're protected, but I mean, they're hot.
Yeah.
Their body's hot. They come out, they go sit on the corner or go up to the fire truck and they take their gear off because they're just trying to cool down. Well, they're breathing all that stuff.
Right, exactly.
They're breathing all of that. And I heard a statistic that I can't back up, but we're looking into it, that the average life expectancy of a firefighter is 55.
Oh my goodness, in this day and age, that's so hard to believe.
Yes, and it's because of that. And so at the apartment that we've had women firefighters, we've had male firefighters, obviously, we've had young firefighters. The first one that died was Aaron, and he had tongue cancer. You think tongue cancer, okay. I mean, in the overall scheme of things, this isn't what you would think is some, I hate to use the word exotic, but you know what I'm saying, this complicated cancer, but it spreads quickly. And he died from it, and he was in his 20s.
Oh my goodness. And the thing that's so impressive to me is that, you know, you've taken tragedy, the loss of your husband, and you've turned it into creating this wonderful opportunity for people that are firefighters that have really provided a great service for our community and our country. And, a life of service.
That's what Rotary is all about. They're an international service organization that's about service above self. That's their motto. And so that's sort of what led me down that path. When I was working for Xerox, there at the end, Xerox gives a social service leave. They used to. And you applied for it, and everyone in Xerox could apply. And if you got that social service leave, you literally got to leave your job and go on a fully paid leave of absence to work for whatever project you wanted. And I thought, Firefighter Home needs help. I can't juggle dealing with disasters all day long and helping this, so I applied. I got it. I was the last woman at Xerox to get the social service leave because right after that they retired the program. And so I was fully paid from Xerox for 6 months to work on this Firefighter Home project. So it's all about, God leaves you down these paths where each piece of the puzzle comes together and you wind up where you are.
I think it's really impressive that you take a woman who's a pioneer, a career woman, a woman of great vision, who has not only taken and moved herself forward, but focused on things that impact people and our community, disaster relief, taking care of firefighters. And again, it allows you to say, maybe there's something outside myself that I can do that will benefit the community that I live in. Because remember, it's up to you.